The best time to paint fall color is in the fall, and you're going to learn all about that today. Our guest today is Melanie Barash Levitt. Melanie, tell us what you're going to do.
Today, I'm very excited. I'm going to paint a fall foliage scene with only a palette knife.
A whole scene with a palette knife. And what are you going to paint? Can you show me?
Yep, I am going to paint a version of this. This was a plein air study that I did, and I no longer have the painting, but I do have a sketch done, and I am going to be working on this today.
Okay, good. Well, we're going to be anxious to see that, so we'll be right back to you in just a second. Wow, this is going to be a really great day. In case you don't know our guest, and of course everybody already knows her, but she is an incredible palette knife painter, and her work, I met her, I don't know, maybe a year ago when we did Fall Color Week in New Hampshire, and I was blown away by her work and the vibrancy of her color and just her compositions. She's just excellent. She's also a gallery owner. We'll learn more about that. And you're going to learn about painting with a palette knife today. I will tell you that we have a prize today. If you leave a comment and we pick your comment, we want you to say where you're from. So it would say, like, I'm Eric, I live in Austin, Texas. In the comments section, you have a chance to win the Plein Air Magazine apron. All right. So let's get this show on the road.
It's Art School Live with Eric Rhodes. Now, here's your host, Eric Rhodes.
I want to tell you guys that you can win, well, I told you that already. You can win a prize, a 97, a Plein Air Magazine apron today. But also, if you're curious about learning how to paint, if this is something that you want to learn how to paint or you want to get better at painting, we have this incredible video, 97 Art Secrets. It's 50 top artists, people that we've produced videos with at Streamline Art, and it's 5 hours, and it is yours for free. Yep, yours for free. All you got to do is go to 97artsecrets.com. All right, just check that out. And also, if you want to subscribe to this, all you got to do is just go to just hit subscribe on YouTube and or go to Instagram at Eric Rhodes. It's Streamline Art on YouTube, and on Instagram and Facebook, it's Eric Rhodes. Now, yesterday we announced we had an easel brush clip to give away, or I should say Monday, and it was Gail Havens. I'm not reading well this morning. Gail Havens from Asheville, North Carolina. I love Asheville, North Carolina. As a matter of fact, I have someone that, very important that works at Streamline who lives there. So now let's get right back to our guest, Melanie Barash Levitt. Melanie, okay, let's get into some painting.
Yeah, so a few things that I'm going to talk about with the painting is how to use complementary colors, color wheel here.
Can you hold that up a little bit closer to the camera?
Yep.
All right, so would you explain, for some people who might not know what that means, what is a complementary color?
So complementary colors are colors that are opposite on the color wheel. So for instance, I'm going to be painting an orange tree today with oranges and reds. So I'm going to look opposite on the color wheel from orange, and I have blue or blue violet. And I'm going to talk about using these complements to dull out a color and make grays, and also to put them next to each other to make colors pop. So for instance, in this painting here that I'm working on, I'm a plein air painter, so this was started outside. You can see how I have my orange tree here, and I've put some blues and violets behind it, and that's going to make this area pop. So it's real important to use complementary when you're painting. And I only paint outside mostly. I'm not a studio painter, so I can see the colors, and I can look at those complements, especially in the fall foliage. It's just beautiful.
So sometimes you're painting what's not there because you want to make sure that it really, that color really vibrates.
Yes, definitely. Sometimes I pump things up to make them pop. And in this painting over here, I'm thinking about, popping this red tree by surrounding it with some green. So, I think about those complements, and I also will show you how you can mix just a little bit of the complement. So if I have an orange here and I take just a little bit of blue, it will dull out the color. And that is really important too, because with fall foliage, if you have all bright colors, nothing's going to sing. So you want some of your foliage to sing and to look bright and vibrant. So you're going to use your complement of orange is your blues, mix a little bit into that color, and you get a grayed out color. And grays are super important in all paintings, and especially
you dull that down. And I think that's really an important lesson for a lot of people, because especially when painting full color, is we want to make everything colorful because we see all that color in front of us. And yet what you really want to do is ask yourself, what is the one thing in this painting that I really want to stand out? Like what tree, I have this one tree, I really want to make the painting about that one tree. So you use your more vibrant, bright color there against the complementary, and then you gray down those other colors by putting the complementary inside. Am I correct on that?
Exactly. Yep. Yep. So you can use your complementaries to gray it down. You can also use them next to each other. So that's something that I'll be doing in the painting that I'm going to demonstrate. And then, something else I do is I stain the canvas. So I always start with a stain, which means that if you can see behind this painting, you can see some pink peeking through. That's Mount Washington where I am. And so I start with that so that I can use that stain to my advantage too, because I love color. And so by staining the canvas in advance, I just use a little bit of Gamma-Sol mixed into my paint. And I usually do a warm tone, though I have been experimenting with some other colors too, like phthalo green for certain scenes, like beach scenes.
So that was going to be my next question, is you sometimes stain it a different color. They're not always pink.
Yep. So this one is stained with like an alizarin. I don't know if you can see. So it's a cool red because it was a winter scene. So in the winter, I do like to use cooler tones. But it depends on the scene, and I don't stain the canvas in advance. I wait till I'm actually on location, and then I decide. And I just kind of put it on, I wipe it down with a paper towel, just a little bit of Gamma-Sol. And that'll give you something to start so that you're not, you don't have a total blank canvas. And that's what we're gonna be doing when I start painting. I have a stain ready, and I have my composition. So I'll be showing you how to build up a painting with just this palette knife. There is a few other little tools, I shouldn't say besides the palette knife, that are really fun to use.
All right.
And they're color shaper tools. So they're actually like rubber on the tip, and they even make these big ones, which I think were clay tools, but they're made by Catalyst. And these are great. This one's great for birch trees because you can use the side of it and get an edge. I also have these smaller ones for putting trees in, and you can see they have pointy ones and flat ones, and they even have this one that looks like a spatula. So it's really nice to pick up the paint with these, and you can get those any art supply store.
So those pull the paint out and then pick up the tone that might be underneath.
Yeah, it'll make a different mark and it might pick it up. So if you have an area that you have an edge, say you're painting a barn and you want to get a clean edge, you could take this flat tool and scrape it across and get a roof line. You can also use a Q-tip, for picking up paint. Doesn't work as well, but you can play around with that as well.
All right, so, I've got a tip for you that I learned from Kathy Odom, who was up at Fall Color Week a couple of weeks ago. She goes to the makeup section and buys makeup Q-tips. They make some that are pointed, and they make nice little lines.
Yes, I love Kathy Odom's work, and that's very cool. Yeah, so it's probably, instead of having the fuzzy part, which I usually pull off, it's in a point, which is similar to this. But these are nice because they're a little stiffer too. So,
all right.
Yeah.
Okay, you ready to get painting?
Yeah, I'm going to move my canvas a little closer so you can get a close-up of me with the palette knife.
All right, so why don't you go ahead and move that, and we'll be right back with you, all right?
Thank you.
All right. Well, in case you're just tuning in today, our guest is Melanie Barash Levitt. She's a palette knife painter and she's in New Hampshire. Fabulous. She has an art gallery there. She's come to Fall Color Week. That's where we really got acquainted. And here she is on the show already. So my name is Eric Rhodes. I'm the publisher of Fine Art Connoisseur Plein Air magazine and Streamline Art, which produces hundreds of art instruction videos. And we're glad to have you here today. We try to be here weekdays, not every day, because some days, got to get things done, but I'm trying to be here for you. During COVID, we were here essentially a full year, every weekday at 12 noon. We did 7 days a week for the first 7 months, and then we went to 5 days a week. So we're back, and thank you for tuning in. I want to say hi to the Dreamliners. The Dreamliners are a group that was founded because of this daily broadcast, because they like to connect in the comments. And so you can learn more about them. Somebody will put something in the comments. And Melanie's information, website, things like that will be put into the comments as we go. But also, you should know that if you have a question, go ahead and ask your question. And if I see it, I'll try to ask it on your behalf, if that works for you. I want to tell you that we have a really cool thing coming up. Let me just play this for you now.
Join the world for Realism Live, the ultimate realism learning event, November 10th through the 13th. 4 days of online art lessons from top realism masters from around the globe. Learn to paint nature, people, cityscapes, flowers, and more. Become a better artist. Click the link to learn more and get our free ebook.
So this thing is going to be amazing. The first Realism Live was amazing. This one's going to blow everybody away. We have some incredible top tier master artists that will just blow you away. The thing about Realism Live is that it is a little bit of everything. And what I mean by that is realism includes figures, portraits, still life, even landscape, and flowers, and because you're painting something realistic. And as a result, Realism Live is about a little bit of all of those subjects. And we also demonstrate in different mediums, mostly oils, but we do have watercolor and pastel and other mediums as well, so that you can get a taste of that. And we have a beginner's day. That beginner's day is a wonderful opportunity for you to learn from scratch, like if you don't know how to do drawing and so on. And we have a really wonderful lineup. I'm not going to mention all the names, but you'll see them on the screen. But incredible artists, people who have made their living as artists and are absolutely top tier. A couple of these people are authors. We have the great Jacob Collins, who is now the president of the Salmagundi Club, but also the founder of the Water Street and Grand Central Ateliers. We have a little bit of everything, as I mentioned. You can learn still life. You can learn figure. There's the great Kwang Ho. Absolutely. This is going to be one of the most exciting events of the year, largest art conference in history, online or offline. So absolutely a chance to learn a lot of different approaches and from very, very incredible artists. And Jesse, for instance, does this in colored pencil. And you'll have a chance to see how others like this Jeffrey does this in oil, still life. This Jeff, a lot of Jeffs, also does still life. So the great Joseph LORUSSO will be there with us, and Kevin MACPHERSON, who is one of the greatest landscape painters of our time, but also does a lot of other portraits and figures and florals. So Craig Nelson, the great teacher from San Francisco, TERESA, OAXACA, who's very popular. GRAYDON PARRISH, who is one of the greatest. I keep saying greatest. I need more words, but one of the greats in the classical realism movement of our time. So many artists, and you will have an opportunity to learn from them. And these are all demos, almost all demos. There are a couple of people that are speaking or on panels, but most of them are demos. And by the end of the week, you'll have this osmosis thing where all of a sudden you're just going to pick up things that you didn't even realize that you didn't know. For instance, I watched Realism Live last year and I did my first portrait. I hadn't done one for I don't know, maybe a year. And after Realism Live, a year had passed, excuse me. And after a year had passed, I started painting, and I was painting better just because I had watched. And so that's Realism Live. I hope you guys will join us. But first, let's get back to Melanie, Barash, Levitt. Melanie, you ready to do this?
I am, yep. So I have gone ahead and stained my canvas with kind of some oranges and a little bit of reds, real loose. And I had my sketch and kind of sketched it out in just a dark purple. I use a limited palette of color. So for my palette, I use 2 reds, a warm and a cool.
Can you hold
2
your
yellows.
palette up?
I can. I have a small one here. I use titanium white. You always need white. I use a cadmium yellow light or lemon yellow. I use cadmium yellow medium. I threw some orange, cad orange on there because of the painting, but I don't always have that on there. For my cool and warm red, I have a cadmium red light and an alizarin crimson. And then for my blues, I have ultramarine and phthalo. And I did throw a little phthalo green on there because I have a gray that I like to mix, because again, mixing opposites on the color wheel. So if you take your alizarin crimson and your phthalo green, you will get a beautiful gray. And I'll just show you that real quick.
Okay, good. Okay, alizarin crimson
and
phthalo
green. And phthalo green looks like mint chocolate chip ice cream if you just use it alone. It's very bright, you could see. So that's a color you don't want to get all over yourself. But when you mix alizarin and phthalo, which are opposite on the color wheel, we talked about complementary colors. We'll add a little bit of white so you can see. You get almost just a beautiful grayed out color, which is something that I use a lot in the landscape. So you can see it right there. It makes a gray. So again, mixing those opposite colors, you have your red opposite is green, orange opposite is your blues, and opposite your, what did I miss? Orange and blue. Yeah, so this, it makes just a beautiful grayed out color. And of course you could lean that color more towards the red, the alizarin, so it's a little more purpley. Or you can lean it a little bit towards the green. So that's just a little bit of complementary colors, and I will be using this color in this painting. So
all right, well, let's
I'm
get
going to
to
go
it. We
ahead
want to see
and
some
get
paint.
started, and I do paint pretty quick. So, okay, so I have these 3 trees, and one thing about composition is 3 is a good number, right? Because just more interesting to have odd numbers. And I'm going to start with my palette knife. And the great thing about the palette knife is you can hold it different ways and you can get exciting marks with it, okay? And so I'm gonna be building up this painting almost like sculpting, because as the paint, I like to paint thick. So as the paint gets on there, it's gonna get a little bit thicker. And I can use the sides of my palette knife. I can get edges with it. And I'm going to be starting down here where it's a little teeny bit darker because this is the shadow area, but I can get light on top of this later. I'm going to leave too little bits of the canvas showing through because I already have that orange. So you can see I'm holding my hand in different ways to get different marks. I've pre-mixed some colors here. And it's a little bit lighter towards the top, and I will be getting some light on top of there as well. I'm gonna get some bright color. So I'm with this tree, I'm working on warm tones, and I'm gonna balance that after, you'll see with the background, with some of the blues and purples. There's some like mountains in the distance. So I'm shaping this tree, just getting the first layer on. And then I'm going to be moving now the two trees. I'm using this painting again as a guide. The two trees on the right and left are kind of reds and oranges. And the middle is yellow, and it's slightly off to the middle. It's not right in the center. And I'm allowing some of my paint to mix, you know, right on this palette. I'm not I can smudge it together and just have fun with it and be loose. And that's why I love the palette knife so much, is because, and I do paint with the brush too, by the way, but it allows me to put color on top of color and be loose with it and not get caught up in detail. I will get smaller marks towards the end of the painting, or I'll be showing you part of the painting, so I'll get to that as well. But I love how I can lay paint on top of each other, and I'm not using any medium. I use Gamblin paint. I find that works really well with the palette knife. So I've laid out just some darks and lights here because it's a little darker towards the bottom, a little darker over here. And now I'm going to show you how I cut in the sky, okay? Because I'm going to be putting mountains behind here, or some stuff in the distance, but I'm also going to cut in the sky. In the sky, we talk about value, darks to lights, okay? Value is dark to light. So we want to have different values in a painting, unless it's a real, you know, foggy day and everything is one or two values. But I try to think about using all these values, dark to light. So my sky is going to be a 910 value on this color chart. It's going to be very light. So that is going to pop. So I'm going to carve this in. And it's going to, I'm going to create some sky holes too here. And the nice thing is that because I have the palette knife, I can put a mark down and just not smudge it or overwork it. And you can see that the tree will start to come to life once we get some of these sky holes in. And I can close some of them up, so I'm going to keep kind of standing back to look as I paint. It's really important. I teach Zoom classes as well, but I always tell my students it's really important to stand back and look at your work as you paint, because when you're right on top of it, it's hard to see what's going on. So I don't want to come too much lower with my tree right now, because with my sky, I mean, because I'm going to be putting in that purple in the background. So you can see how I kind of build up as I go. And what am I thinking about? I'm thinking about right now warm and cool and darks and lights. So I have some cooler colors down here. Gets a little bit lighter. It's still kind of cool up here, but I can go in and I'll show you with a little bit of kind of pure orange. And this is normally done a little bit later to get some pops of light kind of hitting some of those those leaves. Okay. And you can see how I scrape up sometimes. If I don't like an area where I want to smudge it, I can scrape. Okay. And I can also use the side of my knife like this to get on the edge. Okay, so I'm holding it on the edge like this, and I can use the side of my knife to get some marks because there's some branches in here too. And again, normally I'm painting outside on location, so there's you know, the birds are chirping, and in the fall the leaves are falling, and I'm really getting a sense of the scene. But I'm doing this kind of from memory and from my picture there. There's not hard edges on, you know, these trees. So I'm going to put in the mountain behind, because we talked about opposite on the color wheel. So I have these oranges. So I'm going to move towards, you know, oranges and yellow oranges. I'm going to move towards some blues and grayed out blues in the distance. So how did I gray out my blue? Okay, that is ultramarine blue and white with a little bit of orange in it. Okay, and so that is going to help pop out my oranges to have this complementary color. And it's also a little bit grayed out. I might put some bright pops of it later, but for now I want to keep it a little bit grayed out so that it's not bright, bright, bright everywhere. Though I do love bright. And I'm not using all the same here, okay? I'm varying it a little bit. And this mountain or trees that's behind here, you know, I'm going to pay attention and not have this be a straight line. This is going to be an angled line. So even though it looks like, oh, it's so fun painting with a palette knife, you can do whatever you want, you still have to keep in mind all the things you do when you paint with a brush or when you paint anywhere. You have to keep in mind your shapes and your values and your color, and not being bright everywhere, because this will appear like a really bright painting, but it's not going to be. There's grays in there.
That really makes it pop, though, doesn't it?
Yep, and that is a blue that's grayed out a little bit. So it is not. If I took, and we can do this, I'll take ultramarine blue with just a little bit of white, and this is not grayed out. You'll see the difference because it's good to. Okay, so if I just took the plain ultramarine blue and white, it's okay at some places, but I don't want it everywhere, you know? I like it a little bit grayed out, and I am going to vary some of the background here because it's a little bit darker maybe down here because the light can't get down here.
Nice.
And so I'm going to get a little bit darker down here. And you can see with my sketch, I already have that dark line, so that helps me. It's almost like I've created this paint by numbers for myself. It's really fun, and it's freeing to paint with a palette knife. When I first learned to plein air paint, I actually learned with a palette knife. And so to me, it actually comes easier in some ways than painting with a brush, but I do like to do both. So I got that tree in, and I'm gonna get some little bit of even lighter areas. I'm keeping track of this mountain here. It's a little bit maybe over here. So normally I wouldn't just work on one area like that, but I'm trying to get stuff done for you to see because we have limited time. Normally I would move more around the painting as I paint, but I want to build up to show you kind of value. And so I'm going to move down here. I have all these different palettes of color mixed. I already pre-mixed my greens, and I labeled it green, so it labeled it grass, so I remembered. But no, just all joking aside, I usually don't necessarily mix all these colors first, but because we have limited time and I want you to see.
That was nice of you to be so considerate so that we don't have to watch you mix.
Exactly. Well, it's fun. You know, I love watching people paint and watching demos and having artists come. We're at Jackson Art Studio and Gallery right now in the White Mountains, and that's where I first met you, Eric. I think you were at Color Week here. Yep. And so we just lost our foliage pretty much. It's gone, but there's a few trees kind of hanging on, but mostly it's gone. And so I'm going to try to keep it alive because I have a lot of plein air studies. And
you were so kind to have me over to your house, and to
that's right.
I got to meet your husband. And yeah, I think Tom Hughes was there, and his
there. So one of the things I'm trying to do here at Jackson Art in the White Mountains is get top instructors from all over to come teach in the White Mountains, because we're in one of the prettiest areas to teach and be and paint. And so Tom is a great instructor. Just had Eric Jacobson here, who is an awesome instructor. And we've had David and Pam Lucier, and Cynthia Rosen, who is a friend and absolutely love her work and love painting with her. And lots of others who have come
Outstanding.
to teach here. Peg Emmel has been here to teach. So you can see that I'm using this, this green, and I dulled this green down. So how did I mix this? I made a green, added some white, and then also added some red to it. And I also have some like kind of dull purple in here too to balance the green. Because you know, green, purple is close to red, so it's kind of opposite. Another important thing with this painting that I didn't mention with the sketch is this directional. This is like an arrow bringing you into the painting, and it's going to move your eye around. So this is really important. I also have another little one over here. And these dark areas, I don't use black. I mix it, and so I used my alizarin and my ultramarine blue and my darks to get these dark, you know, almost black colors. And this is important because it's going to bring you into the painting. And I want to keep this dark, this not straight across. I like how it kind of rolls in and out here. And you can see too, I'm leaving little bits of that orange popping through, and maybe those are leaves that have fallen, but it, you know, I might not have even left enough, but it helps having that stain bringing things together. Okay, so I just kind of wanted to show you that. I'm going to also bring in a few. These are not sky holes, but they're like them. They, you know, they're the mountain peeking through, or the trees, or whatever's in the distance. So
Mountain holes.
Mountain holes. And, you know, maybe bringing just a little bit of pinks or reds back here. It's like maybe there's, you know, there's some stuff going on in the distance. Just suggesting it. Your eye will fill in. You know, you don't have to say everything. You can hint at it, and the viewer will fill in. So you can see I'm a little bit darker down here, lighter as I go up. I have my light value of the sky, and I'm going to move through the painting. So I'm going to get in just so you can see. Step back here for a minute. I'm going to do a few smaller, brighter notes here. Okay. So again, I usually get smaller and a little bit brighter. I build up. So these paintings take a long time to dry because
How long?
Well, to get the paint, it depends the season, of course, but definitely like 3 or 4 weeks to get totally dry because I use so much paint, and it might be dry on the top surface, but it's not necessarily dry underneath, you know? So I might have done too many. I'm going to scrape that one up. Okay. So again, this is not, you know, a finished area per se, but I want to move around the canvas here a little bit. And I do want to bring in a little bit of dark greens as well because, you know, there's some other, that's opposite, again, on the color wheel, right? Red and green. But it also gives me some darks kind of in between here. So I'm going to put in little bits of this green. It's almost looking blue, but it's a dark. Because, you know, there's these 3 trees, but there's other trees. And here's a little bit of a lighter green. So I'm doing a little bit smaller marks here. I don't want too much, but I want to get in my yellow tree. So I'm going to have kind of 2 red trees with the yellow tree towards the center. And it's going to be a little bit hard for you to see. I'm going to start, I took my yellow oranges and I added a little bit of purple to them to dull it out. Okay.
Nice,
so
nice. Yeah.
So again, it's next to purple over here, and it just, you don't want all bright colors. You know, you think you do with foliage because it's so bright, but you want to make your brights stand out. So you
The other
need
David
some of-
LaFell and Sherry McGraw talk about that, and they call it giving a painting air. So
Yeah.
if you mix a little of that complementary and a little of that background color in, it kind of creates a sense of air on the edges.
Yep. Yep. This is not the tree. I want this tree leaning a little bit. So I'm pulling this up. And so it's so easy. It's always good to see when someone makes a mistake even, because I see how I just pulled up that paint. I do want this to be tilted, this tree a little bit. So I want, and it's going to be a little bit hard for you guys to see because the background color is so similar.
I just want to mention everybody who tuned in late. Our guest today is Melanie Barash Levitt. She's doing palette knife painting, a fall color scene. And also, if you leave comments in the comments section, you can possibly win a plein air apron, no matter where you are in the world. I saw people from all over the world in the comments. I saw India, quite a few India. Welcome. And also remind you that we have a free video for you, 97 amazing, incredible art secrets from the world's top artists. And you can get it. It's 5 hours long, 50 top artists. Just go to 97secrets.com. All right, Melanie, sorry to interrupt you, but I wanted to make sure I got that in.
I wanted to just give you a shout out to your events, because I just had the best time at the Adirondack plein air event, which happened in June. And I am still in touch with so many people that I met there. And I just had the best time. And it was just so well run and really, really fun. So I am going to be coming to the plein air convention and definitely going back to fall color week. So if you want to paint with people, it's just low key, all different levels. It's really just a wonderful event and just had a blast. So,
somebody told me at Fall Color Week, this woman came up to me. I don't remember exactly who it was, but she said, I didn't feel worthy. I didn't feel like I was a good enough painter to come. And she finally decided to do it anyway, but she was not going to paint in front of anybody else and not going to show her work to anybody. And she said to me, everybody's so welcoming, and I didn't feel any pressure, and people were helping me. And she said the opposite of what I expected happened. She said everybody just kind of embraced me.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, it was just really wonderful. And it was nice, I did the Adirondack plein air event, so I actually got to go back to the Adirondacks, and that was so nice because I knew all those beautiful places to paint that you gave us the list. But it was just such a different vibe than, just the relaxing coming to your event, doing the plein air.
You should have called. I would have gone painting with you.
Well, I think you were in Texas. I did.
Oh, it was probably right in the middle of National Live.
You were in, But what a beautiful area. I mean, where I live in the White Mountains is gorgeous, but the Adirondacks, I have to say, I'm a big fan, and it was just a great event.
Well, they're both stunning, and they're both different, completely different.
Yeah.
It's nice to get a little variety once in a while.
So I'm getting in that yellow tree that's in the center, and you can see too that I have my kind of a little bit muddier colors down here where the shadow is. It's not all bright, and I have different values in there from dark to light because I don't want it to be flat. I want everything to have a slightly different value. And again, these little things going on in the distance here, behind are maybe other trees and other things happening. So how are we doing with time, Eric?
We are doing just fine.
Okay. So I'm going to keep going. And if anyone has any questions, give me a shout. I'm getting a little bit smaller marks as I go, varying the color too. So I do think about warm and cool and not, having the same color in the background here. So this is going to come up. And I'm going to be putting in the sky up here and cutting in. And again, talking about a little bit about sky holes, they're really important with trees because you want to kind of see what's behind, and it gives that kind of light and airiness too. And the nice thing about this is the value is a little bit the same up here, but it is lighter, so it will show up and pop and give the painting a value change. So I'm gonna put a sky hole on either side of this.
I want to tell a story real quickly, Melanie, because I think it might pop out. You know, not a lot of people do palette knife paintings. And Michelle Byrne, who you know, was mostly a brush painter. And she ended up somebody's encouraged her to take palette knife into her life. And so she started adding palette knife to her work. And then she eventually got to the point where she's almost all palette knife. And she said the most amazing thing happened is that it accelerated the amount that her paintings sold.
Yes.
Because people just love the energy and the color and the texture.
Yep, that is definitely a point. I own a gallery and I'm in galleries, and there aren't a ton of people doing it, and they are, a lot of people like it. So that's another reason why I like to do it. But I also just find it really freeing. I tend to, with a brush, I have to be careful not to overwork. And with this, I can add a little bit of sky right there, just a light touch and a flick, and not keep going back to it. And I'm stepping back to see what's going on. But I like these little bits of light towards the top. You can see, this kind of mountain or something in the distance. The other thing I do with a palette knife is some scratching, and I do that in grass areas. Maybe do it like this, but also like this. And let me grab that.
While you're grabbing it, if you're new to the show, if you've just discovered us, put something in the comments. Just say, hey, I'm new or first timer. I see somebody from Jakarta, Indonesia. I've not seen that before. Welcome. It's such a wonderful world when we can all be brothers and sisters in art all around the world together.
So I picked up this this tool that I showed you at the beginning. It's called a color shaper.
Yep.
This one is from Dick Blick, I believe. But what I can do, and I don't necessarily need to do it here, but if I do want to pick up some paint and have an edge and just reveal a little bit of what's below, I can do that. I can also suggest, there's trees in the distance or branches, and get back to that original color, which I like. So I like using these tools, and some of them are, more stiffer than others. So, you can make different marks with this too, just pulling, and I get little bits of the orange underpainting coming through. And I also am thinking about direction. So I don't know if you notice when I'm painting, but I'm trying to move around, and I don't want all my palette knife strokes going the same direction. I want them to move the eye around. So you can see like these went a lot up and down here, and these are kind of moving, some this way, some will move this way to keep me in the painting. I don't want to take your energy off the page. I want to keep you in. I have this kind of arrow leading you in, this other one, if you missed that one. And so that will help keep you in my painting. So I think about all that as I go. So I am going to put in, if we have time,
I'd say we have just about maybe 10 more minutes. So
okay, perfect. I'm going to paint as fast as I can, so it's good. And I'm glad that I pre-mix colors, because that really, I don't normally do that, but
it's actually a good idea. It speeds you along.
Yeah.
How big is this canvas? Somebody's asking.
This is just a 12 by 16.
All right.
And this is like a really good size for plein air. For if you're just starting out and you haven't plein air painted before, this might seem big, and it's nice to go 8 by 10, 9 by 12. But what I find with this size is I like to plein air paint in the winter. And I can get this done in one session.
Yeah.
Whereas when I go, 18 by 24, and I am going to start going bigger outside, but I can quickly get this done. I mean, you can see, you can get the paint down, especially if you've pre-mixed it pretty quick. This isn't going to be done. I need to go back, but I can get my first layer on. So
Yeah,
this
maybe a
tree,
good idea to pre-mix your paints when you go out in the winter. That's going to keep you really, you probably doubles your amount of time outdoors by mixing paint.
yes, yep. And, it's hard to the reason I pre-mixed here is because I knew what I was doing, but a lot of times if I go out on location, I will have to mix there, but I always squeeze out my paints before.
You can mix it in the car looking at the scene and
yeah,
stay warm.
exactly. And I actually have a car easel, which was made by a great painter, Michael Graves. I bought it from him, and I sat in my car and painted Mount Washington a lot last January, and it's just constantly changing. So I'm gonna get this other tree in here, standing back. You get some energy with your strokes too, so I'll try to flick sometimes and think about changing directions as I go. And I do want to get just a little bit darker down here. I'm into some of my alizarans and reds because of the shadow. Again, trees, you don't get as much light down low. But these trees are kind of intermingled here, so there's some reds kind of peeking through. So that's almost like a mountain hole with with the color of the tree, a tree hole that is a different color. So and we're getting the canvas covered. So this is what I do try to tell my students too, is move around the painting and get your canvas covered, and then go back. So, you don't overwork that way and get caught up in one area too. So it's really good to kind of move around. Again, today I worked in this one area mostly because I didn't know how far I'd get. We're getting there.
Yeah, you're doing really well.
Well, I do paint. I've learned to paint quick, and I think plein air painting helps that. You're outside. You only have so long before you have a new scene in front of you. And
I talked to a guy by the name of Heine Hartwig. I took a lesson from him, and he said, if you paint slow, you can't ever make any money as an artist.
well, there is something to say for that, because people do work long, hard on studio pieces, and that's different. But you can get pretty quick with plein air because you have everything right there in front of you. And I will be taking actually this study and going really big with it. So this is kind of why I just love this scene. And so I might go, like 3 by 4 feet with this. And of course, that will be in the studio, taking my study and getting bigger. So that's kind of where I'm going with things.
Yeah. Well, I think we're going to need to wrap it up. Why don't we, you'll have to finish that and then post it on Instagram and Facebook. So that
I will, for sure. Yeah. Yeah, but I got a good start to it, and I will definitely finish it and put it up. So
outstanding. Well, that was beautiful, Melanie. And we have put Melanie's information in the comments section so you can find her website. Tell us the name of your gallery again.
It's Jackson Art Studio and Gallery, www.jacksonartnh.com for New Hampshire. And we are going to get some really good instructors in 2022 and 2023. Kyle Buckland is coming here in in the spring. So that'll
Outstanding.
be fun. Yeah.
We have a
So
brand new
thanks
video
so much.
coming out from Kyle Buckland here
I
pretty soon.
saw that, and I'm
Yeah.
definitely gonna check
Yeah.
that out. So, and
Well,
yeah,
Melanie, thank you so much. First
thank
off, I
you,
want to
Eric.
thank you publicly. You're such a great person. You're so much fun to be
Oh,
around. You're
thank
very
you.
deeply caring about art and artists. I learned that when we had dinner together at your house or drinks together,
Oh, thank you.
spending time with you in the Adirondacks at the Adirondack Publishers Invitational event. And you're really a giving person. I really appreciate it. You're a great teacher. You're a great artist. You've
Thank
got
you, Eric.
everybody was drawn to your paintings. And
Thank you so
so
much. I
thank you
feel
for doing this.
Thank you, and thank you. You're so great for the art community, and I'm just really happy that I got to do this and continue to go to your events and talk you up because I'm a fan. So
Well,
thank
that's very
you.
sweet of you. All right. Well, thank you, Melanie, and thank you again. And let's make sure that you post that. That would be really terrific.
I definitely will. I'll put that up.
And I'm going to tell everybody about pumpkin paintings here in a second. So we've got to talk about that. Melanie, thanks again. So I want to tell you guys that I posted last night on Instagram. By the way, if you're not following me on Instagram, that would be really cool. Just follow me at Eric Rhodes. I have a little graphic here, but I just can't even find it right now. But here it is. Anyway, follow me on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, etc., and that would be really terrific. But I put up a challenge, and you have an opportunity to win a full ride ticket to Realism Live, which I talked about earlier. If you didn't hear it, it's an online virtual conference coming up in November. And even if you can't make the dates, you can still get the replays because everyone gets some form of replays depending on which package you get. And anyway, we would love to have you at that, but you can win a ticket to Realism Live. And the way we're going to do this is we're having a pumpkin painting challenge. It's called Paint a Pumpkin in Plein Air. And of course, you can paint it from life. It doesn't have to be outdoors. It can be indoors, but it's got to be from life. And it could be a still life of a pumpkin. It can be a carved pumpkin. It can be a person with a pumpkin head. You can have fun with it, be crazy. But we're going to have the first prize is Realism Live, a ticket to Realism Live. The second and third prize runner-ups are you get a video of your choice from the hundreds of videos that we produce at streamline.art. And so the way to do it is to paint your pumpkin and then post it on your social media, Instagram, Facebook, etc. But put in the hashtag, this is how we find you, put in the hashtag pound, PAPIPA, paint a pumpkin in plein air. And also, if you would tag me so that I can see them, it's at Eric Rhodes. You know how to spell my name by now. It's RHOADS. So paint a pumpkin in plein air. I want to remind you guys that the deadline is coming up to get all the extra bonuses if you sign up early for Realism Live. And already hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people have signed up. And it's going to be an incredible event. And we've got incredible teachers. So that's coming up in November. And again, if you can't make the dates, at least watch it nights, weekends, and the replay form, because it's a great value. I mean, for probably less than half what you'd pay for a workshop of a single artist, which by the way is worth doing, and for about the price you'd pay for a good video, it is almost 30 artists who are teaching you. And there's also a beginner's day you can add on for very little money. And it's an opportunity to learn and grow. And like I said, it's kind of worked like osmosis for me. I watched it and I hadn't had a chance to do any practicing of portraits. And yet that stuff started coming into my head after I had watched it. And all of a sudden it's like, wow, I had forgotten this. And I did 2 portraits at Fall Color Week a couple of weeks ago. First one was a little rocky. It's the first one I had done in almost 2 years. And then the second one came out pretty good. The lady actually asked me if she could have it, the model who was one of our attendees. And I almost didn't want to let go of it because I really liked it a lot. But I did. And anyway, that's kind of the nice thing about it is if you paint along and you practice, you're gonna get really, really good. But even if you don't, you're going to have some residual effect. It's just going to stick with you. So check out realismlive.com. That'd be really terrific. Thank you for tuning in every day, and make sure that you do your pumpkin painting. We'd love to see that. And we've got all kinds of things coming up for you that we'll be announcing soon. We've got some new products coming up and some new videos. We've got a whole bunch of new videos coming out, and lots of other things, because we're trying to be like Disney for artists. It's what somebody called us, because we just want to give you fun things to do, places to go, people to paint with. And so got a lot happening. We've had to delay a lot of things this year, but the next big event, of course, there's Realism Live. The next big event is going to be Plein Air Live. And then we're also going to be doing the Plein Air Convention in person, and that's going to be in Santa Fe, so you don't want to forget about that. And by the way, hotel is already saying, "Hey, we're starting to see signs of stress here. We're gonna sell out real early. We can tell." And we're already knowing. We had 1,200 people signed up before we had to cancel, and 1,200 is our limit. And we're already halfway there again. And if you want to get together with the family, be part of the Plein Air Convention, see it, which is like 4 or 5 stages of people teaching in watercolor and pastel and oil and acrylic and all kinds of other things, you'll want to be there. And there's a lot of vendors that are going to be there, and everybody's like so ready to get together. So get your tickets early if you can, because first off, that helps us do our planning. But secondly, I'm really afraid that we could sell 2 or 3 times as many this year. And because everybody's like, they've been sitting on their money, they haven't been going out to dinner, and they're like, I'm ready. Also, if you get in early, there's still payment plans available. So check it out at pleinairconvention.com. Thank you guys for watching. I'm Eric Rhodes, publisher of Fine Art Connoisseur, Plein Air Magazine. Hope you'll subscribe to those, or at least check them out. And part of streamline.art, where we have hundreds of videos. So thanks again. I'm here most days, and I will be here tomorrow, and we'll see you then. Okay, time to go. Bye-bye. Let's see if we can make this go away. Bye-bye.